Well, today I'm going to show you guys my method of installing the second generation center console into a first generation Neon. This is a pretty popular swap for those who don't already know, primarily because, well, extra cup holder. The other thing that's kind of nice about it too is it actually gives you a backseat cup holder too, which is a nice bonus. But the problem most people have is getting it to fit right. Either it doesn't go forward far enough, or it's always wobbly because you've got too much space down here between the bottom of the cubby in here and then the floor where it's attaching to. And so I'll show you the two things that I do to fit my center consoles in. So I'm going to go ahead and lift this out of here real quick. So obviously, if you're going to put a second generation console in your first gen Neon, not only do you need to pull the second gen console out of a parts car in the yard, but you need to pull the parking brake handle as well. The one nice thing is, it essentially will kind of bolt right in. It sits a tiny bit crooked, but you don't really notice. It will use the same rear mounting screw, or I should say a stud. And then up front here, a little dark, but so the factory parking brake attaches to this stud and this stud. And obviously this one doesn't even get used at this point. Now given, the one that is attached to is what causes it to go just slightly off to the right, but not really bad. But there's not a lot of thread to grab here. And as a matter of fact, on one of my other vehicles, I actually had so little to grab here that it actually kind of pulled the threads off the end of the stud, and then my parking brake came up and would not actually function. And what I ended up doing when that happened is I actually unbolted this whole plate that houses the airbag module, and I actually cut the corner of it off entirely. That way this would actually go down a little bit further and catch better threads. So that was, a simple solution to that. Another thing that you might find handy is when it comes to putting the center console back in is getting the parking brake up high enough, especially if you have a strong parking brake. But I'll touch base on that in a second. But the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a chunk of 2x4. This guy right here is going to be what I'm going to use. Not only to take up the space, but to screw it down. But we got to modify this little board so that it'll work for what we want. So we'll do that really quick, and then we'll come back here. Step one to modifying this little piece of 2x4 here is I made these two lines with the pen in relation to where these screws are. So that way I know where to drill my holes. So we're going to go and we're going to get this thing set up to drill some holes in this little guy. Alright, so I'm going to do a thing here with two different drill bits. So I've got, these are the screws that were holding the center console down to the metal plate to begin with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 3/16 drill bit and drill a hole clean through this with the 3/16. That way the threads will pass through the hole nice and cleanly. So now I've got my little holes in with the 3/16 bit. You can see the screw falls right into the hole but doesn't sink the head through, so that's perfect. And I put them in about quarter inch or so into the edge of the wood here. And so now the next step is I'm going to use a 3/8 drill bit. Now the trick here is we don't want this drill bit to go all the way through. And let me tell you, if you've got a drill press, this is the time to use a drill press. Doing this by hand sucks because these drill bits, when it comes to wood, when they grab, boy, they grab and they will pull right fucking through there. So that's one of the things I'm going to try to be very careful of, because basically I only want the drill bit to go in about this far. So I'm going to put a piece of electrical tape on the edge of this to mark where I want it. So wrap a piece of electrical tape on it, and I can use that as my depth guide. That way, hopefully, I don't blow clean through this thing. We're going to see how that goes. It's probably not going to be good. And doing this freehand, it's just, yeah, it is no bueno. Well, I did it. But it did definitely try to pull through the wood. In fact, you can see right here, it actually tore a chunk out of the corner there. But I did get them in there. You can kind of see there's a shallow spot then. You might even be able to see, barely, how much thickness there is there to work with. The nice thing is it's a chunk of 2x4. If you fuck it up and you blow the hole clean through it, you can get another chunk. I mean, fuck, you know, you could just spin it around and just try again on this side. You only need the 2. But the whole point of this now is that these screws are going to be able to go and get the head right down in here. Oh, do I need to go bigger? Me and my math skills here. The 3/8 drill bit is not fucking big enough. This is where I'm going to screw it up, because I guarantee you the minute I step it up to, well, 1/2 inch, it's going to fuck it all to hell. We're going to find out. Okay, so I managed to do it slowly and trying to like pull back on the drill slightly as I do it to try to keep the pressure even. It seemed to work. So now, as I was saying before I fucked it up, there, these screws will go. Now, it'll push through more with the screwdriver. In fact, let's just do that real quick. So yeah, it may not seem like much, but they are coming through. So that way then, we should be able to attach this. So this way, there's a reason for on the length of the wood here too, and I did not cut this. This was just a scrap I had. This part is actually a little higher than this part. So if you have it there, it'll be at a bit of an angle, which, I mean, frankly, doesn't matter. But I put it right there, and it should be fine. The parking brake cable will slide right underneath it just fine. So let's see if I can get this to thread in to these holes here. Kind of a yes, no, maybe so. That one caught just fine. You know, I might need to take the corner of this wood off. See that? It's actually hitting there and making it hard for me to get the screw in. So I've got to modify my wood really quick. I'm just gonna trim this down with the flap wheel real quick. All right, I actually just used the bench grinder and just kind of put a bevel on it. So I think that ought to do her. I just drop these little screws in here and see if we can snug her on down. That one caught real easy. And then this one. Can we get something? I might need to sink this one in first. Let's see. That just needs 2 hands. That got her. 2 hands did the trick. That thing is in there now. So perfect. So now I can put the center console in. So there's another thing that I do here. When I modify my center console to fit, like I said, some people you can't get them far enough forward. I actually go ahead and I trim a little excess plastic out. The original center console, there's about this much plastic still in here. So I actually open it up a little further so it can go forward more. And I unfortunately, I don't even know when the hell that happened. I don't think it was cracked like that when I pulled it out, but I don't know. I took it out in the winter. It was cold. I probably cracked it. Whatever. It's not that noticeable. So, like I was saying about the parking brake, if you've got a good parking brake and it's tight, you're going to have a hard time pulling this thing high enough to get the center console back in. Getting it out isn't too bad because this thing will flex enough that you can kind of force it up past that and it'll pop out, and that'll give you enough space. But these are self-adjusting parking brakes anyways. So what you can actually do is when the parking brake is down all the way, you see this little lever here that the cable is attached to. I know it's kind of dark, but you can actually push down on that to loosen up the cable. Kind of see it moving there. So using 2 hands, you can push this down with your thumb. Let's say your left hand where I'm at. Push it down with my thumb and then pull up on the parking brake, and you'll be able to get it all the way up to its maximum travel without pulling the cable tight. So I'm going to do that real quick. And now that we're on maximum height, we can go ahead and slip the center console in here. Obviously, you don't have to have the seats out to do this, but I'm in the midst of a project and I already had the seats out anyways. So it is just that much easier to put this back in when there's no seats in place. So we just take it and push it forward and then line it up so that it drops in there. And we might be caught on something because I feel it kind of binding up here. It's probably just caught on the carpet. That's always the fun part. You catch on the carpet, you catch on the seat, you catch on the damn parking brake. Christ, you catch on everything. Did I accidentally release it? I did. There we go. That you'll definitely find is fun. When you're putting them in with the seats in, you get this a lot where the fucking seat belt tries to go inside the damn thing. That's a fucking fun pain in the butt. But there we go. So now, some people do tend to do something to attach the front screws too, but that I never really worry about, to be completely honest. But now, it sits dead right down there. Just reset the parking brake. And now, I can take the other two screws, because normally there's the 4 screws anyways. And let me see, I should be able to turn on the flash. There we go. Now, oh, I'm not quite lined up terribly good here, but I can put a screw in here. And like I said, the e-brake sits a little crooked in here like this, so if I kind of, oh, there we go. Perfect, I just didn't have it lined up right. Like, you can see the purple metal under there, but there's a big gap there. The funny thing is, I can't even see that with my eye, but you can see it in the camera. But I'm up against the wood here, so I can take the other 2 screws and sink them right down into the wood. There we go. So this way, take this here screw and just, I mean, it's wood, so it's nice and soft and easy to thread into. And just kind of give it a little shove and screw it down. And I mean, the nice thing is then, if you have to take the center console back out for, you know, any other interior work you might be doing, it's easy. You can leave the wood in place, unless if you need to remove it for some reason, and you can just unthread it like it would normally come out. There we go. Screwed in. She's quite solid. No problem. Like I said, you can do something to try to secure the front too. There's a little bit of a gap there as well. I think some of the people bend the tabs up a bit, but honestly, I never worry about the front. That cracked plastic is unfortunate. I'll have to find another one for her at some point. This is the wife's car, so you got to make it nice. I mean, you got to do the best you can to make it pretty. So yeah, and now I can put the seats back in. And these are second gen buckets that have kind of this purple inlay. And obviously, being second gen, there is no coupes. So the seats didn't fold forward before, but I actually just swapped out the coupe mechanism from another pair of seats that I had grabbed. So now these actually operate like proper coupe seats and have the release mechanism. So I can toss these back in and it'll be great. And don't forget to use the man glitter on your threads, fellas. Focus, you fuck. Jesus. Useless. But you want to be able to get these bastards back out without blowing them apart. Always use that man glitter. There we go. Thing of beauty. That's nice. I can actually get back in the back seat now. Once I put the back seat back in. Got to finish running the battery cable. But now, got center console is good and sturdy and easy to reach. No problemo. Hopefully this helps someone. You never know, but if you stuck around, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. And who knows? Maybe my YouTube will actually turn into something. I doubt it, but I don't care. I'm just doing this for me, and who knows? Whatever. It's the popular thing to do, I guess. I don't know. Thanks for watching. Keep your stick on the ice, eh?